Beat It AT, what up? Beat It AT, what up? Beat It
What is going on, my brodies? It is Andrew Rapier here of Beat It AT Production and Publishing, bringing you guys a brand new YouTube video. In this YouTube video, I'll be showing you how I mixed this beat. So I'm gonna go ahead and play the beat from the top. I'm gonna go through this whole mixer. I'm gonna go into like the stereo separation as well as the plugins, and then hopefully I can get to the master. So I'm gonna start all the way over here. I'm gonna play the beat first so y'all catch a vibe. We'll play up to here. Honestly, this is not my most favorite beat. However, I do think that mix is solid and good, where it could make for a good video if I broke it down and went through everything that I did to get the mix sounding as it is. So it's important that I go ahead and go to the master real quick and disable Ozone 8 elements, because currently it's doing some stereo imaging as well as some maximizing. So it's not, if we had it on, our mix levels will not be as accurate. So I'm gonna go ahead and disable that. Let's play it now. So in here you can see all my elements that I got. Got a lot. Got 22 tracks. So I'm gonna go ahead and play. So here's the first thing. We got these chords. One thing you can notice about how I do my mixing is I pull my instruments and all the melodies down, so it's a little bit under the drums, and I actually like to have my melody elements actually lower. I like to have them lower just because we're gonna have vocals that are gonna be sitting on top, and I don't want to worry about them fighting, because just in case if the rapper just got like the MP3 or just got the wave where they don't have the track outs, I want it to still work, so they don't need the track outs. But we all know that track outs are usually the route to go if you want to mix properly, but we can make it work with just a standard MP3 song. So if those elements are a little bit lower than the drums, it leaves that room for the vocals. Now if we pull up this other one, You can see down here, we got stereo separation. With the blue, that means it's spreading out, and then the purple means it's spreading more mono. And it's just a way that I like to do imaging, so it fills in all that like virtual space of that beat. But you got to be careful. You don't want to do too much stereo separation, because when we play mono, you won't hear it. Venues often have a lot of their speakers playing mono. Not all the time. I mean, it's a stereo setup, but the club speakers, certain ones might be outputting a mono signal. When one's in stereo and one's in mono, we may only get one channel, so it's going to be like half as loud. And when you have all the other elements, it gets drowned out really easily. So that's where I like to have it just a little bit. We got like a 26% stereo width on that. So, and this one's with the slightest of mono, but this one's a little bit louder, and you can kind of hear with those three elements how they kind of fill in that space if you guys got headphones on. You could hear this one, the plug, is in that middle but loud. You could hear this one's a little bit farther back, but it's still in that middle range. And you hear this one is above the pad, but it's filling in that space. And you can see how relatively where the faders are comparatively. So now that 808 fills in a lot of space, but it's all in mono. And we can see that because it's in the stereo separation. And in there, let me show you guys these EQs. It doesn't really matter so much about the EQ or what exact settings I have, because the EQ changes for every sound and the other sounds that are with it. Copying my EQ is probably not the way to go, so I'm gonna try to explain the reasoning on why I did the EQs, because if you guys just copy the EQs, it won't work, because the EQs are based on what sound they are manipulating and then the other sounds around it. So never just copy someone's EQ unless if every like element in the beat is the same. So you can see we kind of dull that sound up a little bit because this wasn't a main sound. So we put it in that back, and here's that plug. I'm doing all that cutting in the low end. We don't have anything in that sub and really nothing in that bass range. So when we grab that 808, our 808 goes up to that low mid, but obviously the main focus is within that sub and bass range. I added a camel crusher on top of that as well to add more saturation, because if we listen, we could see with that distortion it brought more color to the bass. So that's important, and it adds just a more interesting characteristic to our 808. So here we got a choir. It's just, you know, standard, no change in stereo or mono width. But we did do that EQ where we cut that low end out. So right here is just some space, just to fill in any emptiness as well. but it's all stereo, so spread it out, and this is just adding a little bit more textures to our beat. Right there we had a flute as well, so, and we can see all the melody elements, or VSTs, whatever you want to call them, are all low, all the instruments. So when all the drums come on, everything's gonna slap, it's gonna be punchy, and so forth. So that impact, you know, fairly loud. We got another little piano there, kind of in the more lower mid range, just adding a little bit more thickness to the beat. A little bit louder, but it's a relatively quiet sound, so the mix level is just, you know, slightly above the average level of the instruments. It's kind of creeping in, like you could hear it creeping in within the beat. So it's not like too punchy, it's not too quiet. You can hear it, but it's not too in your face. So now moving into some of these drums. Hi-hat, we got a little bit of a gain in the high end, but we rolled off all that low end. Got another hi-hat, just more of an accent one. You can see the EQ right there. Clap. This clap is relatively thin, so I would probably also want to do a compressor, but this beat's already pretty much done. So I may come back to that later, but it's not a big deal. It's just when I say it's thin, because a lot of that cue rolled off that low end and such, and maybe because of the sample as well, it just doesn't have that punch. Like it works, and we could hear it, but it doesn't have that punch. But I think it also gets fixed when we add this snare though, which if we go over here, we have an EQ with that little bump of a 390 low mid. So it's going to add a little bit more room presence, I would say, to that snare that we're about to play. And then I do have a compressor. Now with that clap and snare, we could really hear that punch, and like it's just thicker. But it's not too much. We just want to make sure that the element is heard, because this is what drives the beat. The clap and snare, the kick is what gives the heartbeat, the 808 is what gives the life, and then the hi-hat is just for the anticipation, tempo, and energy as well. Here we are back to this kick, where in this kick I have an EQ where I do a boost in that bass 160 range. I roll off a lot of that top, and I roll off anything too low, because I don't want to pick up any sub, because it will clash with that 808. Now into that sound goodizer, the sound goodizer really brings up that kick signal, because it's meant for a master, but the sound goodizer is essentially just a maximizer plugin, which will essentially compress whatever element you're putting it on. I do sound goodizer on my master, but when I do a little bit, like very, just pretty much for saturation purposes. However, for my kick, I usually use A or C for the kick, and with that, it just adds this punch. Let me show you. It's crazy how much that hits. So let's go ahead and add our elements back. Open hat, literally nothing was done to it because it sounded fine. Here we got a little rim that, with the high end rolled off, we can, it blends more in the background of the beat, and that's what I wanted with the rim. Just another percussive element that plays sort of in the background of the drums. If we added up that high end, now the perk is more up front. But I don't want that, so let me pull it back down. That should be covering most of how I do the mixing on this beat. Just think of the instruments and melodies a little under the drums. The drums are on top, but then there's a couple elements here and there that kind of go in between of those layers. Some of those perks are a little bit lower, closer to that melody, and some in which are lower than that melody. Some of those melodies stand out more. I don't really do any stereo or mono separation with the drums. I sometimes do panning, but with this beat, no panning was done on any of the drums or elements. So that then leaves us with this master where I literally just have Ozone 8 elements. Now I actually got Ozone 8 elements for free because I went to Plugin Boutique, and during one of my purchases they included it in. That saved me like $130 or something, because that's how much I think Ozone 8 elements is. I could be wrong. It might be like 70. It's 70 or like 130, around that range. I think I got a link to it down in the description down below. So in Ozone 8 elements, this is actually a great mastering plugin, especially for those that are on a budget. I like this because honestly it just saves CPU power. If I pulled up what would it be, like Slate Digital or some of the Waves ones, it tends to use up more CPU than I would really like. I mean, you can see I'm using like 8 gigs, 9 gigs of RAM right now. I got 16 gigs for RAM. So, and then the CPU I'm at like 25-30%. Now I am filming my screen, so that's probably using up a chunk of it, but still. So I don't do anything with that EQ, but if we look into this stereo, this is where I do some stuff. I did a stereoize where it actually spreads the signal, as you can see, like right there. It literally just spreads that signal all around. Now the width then changes how much it's going to spread. How much is it going to push it out? If you guys have headphones on, I'm going to play it for you guys so you guys get an idea how the width is done. You guys could probably hear it if you guys got monitors, but you would really hear it with headphones on. So I the beat to fill in the room because I want those vocals in the middle, and then other like background vocals, ad-libs can then be spaced out throughout the room of the beat. Maximizer, I leave about a 0.2 dB of a ceiling, and then I pull down that threshold. Honestly, most of my thresholds on the master with beats are going to be between a negative 2.9 dB to a negative 4 dB. I don't think I ever get down to like a negative 5 dB based on how I mix, because I mix relatively loud, so then there's not really even a whole lot of headroom left for that master, which is good. You should be mixing how you want the song to sound. You shouldn't be reliant about the master fixing it, because that's not how it goes. The master is just polishing whatever we got from our mix. I did the IRC2, which makes it more of a sharp limiting, and it preserves the peaks. So I want each element to be very distinguished. I don't want it to be too much like a brick of sound. So yeah, and that really covers it. If I pulled up my limiter to kind of give you guys a feel, I'll also let me pull up a meter to show you how loud of loves we are at, because YouTube and most streaming sites only go to a negative 14 loves. Once I upload this, it's gonna like essentially get quieter, whereas when someone purchases the raw WAV files or MP3 files, the audio quality will be preserved and won't be changed like how it is when you upload it to streaming sites. So it's pretty loud. It's really loud. It's a negative 8, negative 9 to negative 7 dB, giving us like a rough estimate average of a negative 8, not dB, I apologize, loves, giving us a negative 8 loves, which is actually pretty loud. Pretty loud. And as you guys could see in that limiter, it was a brick of sound. That's after all the mastering, all the mixing, all that. Because if it was like that before and then we did everything, it would be distorted, all types of messed up. And hopefully after this video renders and once it goes online, hopefully it doesn't alter the audio too much. But me just playing this and then when I upload it to YouTube, it may not translate because of the fact that, you know, loves change when they are actually on. The loves will change once the streaming sites upload it, because they're trying to compete with the loudness wars, so to say, to mostly preserve older recordings of songs, as well as to try to prevent too much ear damage done to people. So yeah. So hopefully you guys found this video beneficial, informative, and such. If you guys like it and want to learn more, be sure to subscribe, click that notification button, because I do go live, and whenever I do go live, I do review your music and beats. So yeah, if you guys want to support us, I put the links to what I use, as well as drum kits, beats, and such down in the description down below. That's how we get supported. That's how I'm able to create these videos and be able to do it more frequently. So yeah, I appreciate you guys as always. This is Andrew of Beat It AT, and I'll see you guys later.